cracked it. I did it. I did it. I found the pieces. I found they're all here. They're all here. The voices finally they told me where to go. They finally I finally I figured it out. If you look at the structures all do you notice how the towers and the spotlights they all kind of like turn to look at the myths as they pass? There's a reason for that. And the spires, their heights change. Do you know why their heights change? Because it all leads into the lanes and the rolls and everything. And I found new information. It was all hidden in plain sight. The elders themselves are involved, and I figured it out. And I have to go. The voices are telling me I need to leave because right now that they're trying to find me. But tomorrow I'm gonna release all the information that I found, and I'm gonna show you something you haven't seen before. What's up, guys? It's me, JellyKnees, and I want to talk to you guys about Marina because when I took my break, I missed on several spotlights, so I'm catching up on those, kind of talking to you about some things. And in watching this again for this video, I realized that there's actually parts of this where they talk about the obelisk and may hint at what the obelisk does, which just blew my mind because I've been dying to figure that out. But we'll get to that later on in the video. First off, let's just talk about Marina and her overall just kind of look and feel. And I think overall her design is incredible. I love the kind of like pearlescent, like ultraviolet, like coloring that she has going in certain parts of her model. But even just the texture differences that you can see, right? When you go down and she's got like the skin tight suit on, but then you see her cape and it has like different ripple textures to it. It looks really, really good. And I love everything about that design that they've done for her. The other thing is her hexadent also kind of shares that same pearlescent ultraviolet look to it that I really love, but it's got this like aura that comes off. And just at a glance, you can look at this and be like, "Oh, I bet she's a magic user of some kind," just because of that kind of aura that's coming off of her trident or her hexadent, as the website puts it. But so as we get into the majority of the spotlight, we figure out that Marina is a enchanter controller. So enchanters are kind of supportive utility that creates synergy with her team. So she basically is going to set up her carries to do more work or set up other members of her team. The controllers are utility damage dealers that help create new opportunities for herself and her allies. So she's very oriented around setting up things for her, either for herself or her team, and being supportive in that end as well. She also belongs to the cleric class, which we already knew, and the cleric class ability, for those of you that don't know, is the Ethereal Paths ability. And what they've talked about briefly for this class, so there will be multiple paths for you to choose, and I believe the number that they gave before was 8 paths. And what you're going to do is pick a path, and you're going to gain some specific ability or traits or stats because of that path. And so we don't know any of the details of the paths themselves. Hopefully that comes out soon. I'm thinking we're probably going to get some kind of class ability video spotlight, hopefully before the game releases, but I guess I don't know that for sure. But anyway, let's talk about her passive and her kit, because it's really interesting the way it's all built and set up. So her passive is Mark of the Cerulean. Her offensive abilities and her basic attacks apply a mark to enemy myths. Specifically, they state enemy myths, so this won't apply to minions. When the mark is broken, it's going to deal additional magic damage to the target and heal and give move speed to the person who broke the mark. So in lane, if she can just apply to the mark to somebody and Dante comes up and hits them, breaks the mark, does extra damage, heals, and gives move speed, that's a really good like combo of poke that you can get going between the two, especially because Dante's Go Long ability goes through minions. So you can combo, if the Marina puts out an ability that marks an enemy myth, Dante just has to hit them with Go Long to get those benefits. So that's a huge combo that you can see right there with just the support and carry. Marina can also break her own mark with basic attacks or abilities, but she only gets 50% of the benefits from it. So the half damage, half the healing, and half the move speed benefits, which is still fairly strong, actually. The fact that she's doing any damage off of her own mark at all is actually fairly good. It limits her potential a little bit in trying to be like a solo laner of some kind, but I think with the right build, you might be able to work out a way for that to be beneficial still, because that's still self-sustain in a lane environment. Even though it's half as much, 50 health is 50 health. Um, the right mouse button ability, or her special ability, is Deep Song. She puts out, basically, we called this one almost exactly. She puts out a charm and a cone out in front of her. It looked fairly short range in the video, but I don't know what the range actually looks like. And we don't know what the cooldown or duration of the charm is, but she charms enemies out in a cone in front of her. They slowly walk towards her, and she actually loses the majority of her move speed, they said, is her downside. So it sounds like she can move while she's using this Deep Song, just very, very slowly, which is actually kind of because if she can slightly move around and get other enemies to walk towards her in specific ways, that's really cool. And she's going to be able to create some opportunities for her team by doing so. So all in all, I'm glad we were right about this ability, because this sounds insane to me. And they have like a little charmed effect, like a heart over the head, that looks really nice as well. Her first primary ability is Soothing Waters. She summons a bubble out in front of her at range. The bubble seems fairly decent sized. I don't know if that is indicative of how large the area it affects is, or if that's just the texture that they're, or the effect that they're going to use for the ability. But it seems fairly large, so it's very clear that it's happening. And after a delay, it explodes, dealing damage to enemies and healing all allies. Again, another really good ability that's going to benefit. She could go a damage build and get some self-sustain out of that, or and do a lot of damage at the same time, or she can just focus on building up some of her other abilities and being that utility support for the carries and the enchanter support that she is. So all in all, really straightforward ability, but I think it's going to be really great to use and feel really good in a lot of scenarios. And it's going to be her bread and butter ability. She's going to use this one primarily over pretty much everything else. And I think it's going to create a lot of opportunities where you're not going to be expecting someone to get healed and take damage at the same time, and an enemy take damage at the same time. Her second ability is Pearl of the Ocean. She applies a shield on an allied myth, and this ability actually has multiple charges. From what we could see in the video, it looks like it's got at least 3 charges, and so she can put that out on multiple people over time. But she can also put it on the same person. It just has diminishing returns every time she does. Another very straightforward ability, but in conjunction with her Soothing Waters and her Deep Song, she can kind of get a combo. You can start to see a combo forming here, and that she can use her Soothing Waters. Then as they go in to proc the mark from Soothing Waters, then she can use the shield on her ally to keep them a little healthier, and use Deep Song to charm the enemy toward her, giving them like a lot of, to kind of solidifying the exchange and the trade to go in their favor. Really, really cool overall. Her third ability is lackluster, but also really good at the same time. It's Riptide. So Marina places a pool on the ground, slowing enemies and giving herself movement speed. She passively gains, because of this ability, she will passively gain movement speed while she's in water. And so because she's placing the pool on the ground, she gets the movement speed from that. Riptide also, though, this is where it could be really strong. Riptide applies Marina's Mark of the Cerulean to all enemies or enemy myths that are in Riptide when it's placed. And you guys can see it's a fairly large pool on the ground. The texture is not the greatest by any stretch, but that's a large area that if she can place at range, she could mark all 6 enemy myths in one go and really set up her team to deal a lot of damage and heal and get move speed very, very quickly. So I'd be curious to see if you are able to activate multiple marks of the Cerulean with one ability if the bonuses stack. If you would gain 6 times the healing and 6 times the movement speed because you ended up proccing all 6 marks. So really cool thing there, like we saw with Noxus's ultimate. If she could proc all 6 mark of the Ceruleans, would she gain that move speed 6 times? Something interesting that Yuji, if you're watching this, please, I would love to know how that works. What the interaction is with hitting multiple marks in rapid succession. Like I said, the texture is not the greatest, and we only ever saw it on flat terrain. My guess is that if it was on an incline of some kind, it would look really janky because it's probably a flat texture. It doesn't conform to the space it's in. But I don't know that for sure. So I hope that that's fixed going into the pre-alpha, but we'll have to wait and see. Something we talked about on Enter the Ether was instead of making it a literal pool, make it like a water effect that is potentially easier to conform to what's surrounding the area, or wouldn't look as janky if it ended up being on an angle. But that's completely up to UG, and we'll just have to wait and see what they end up doing there. Her ultimate, though, is the Great Storm. This ability, the more I think about it, the more bonkers it sounds. When she casts this ability, she just passively, or not passively, but when she casts, she grants healing to allies and does damage to enemies just because. Yeah, like that's literally it. She just does it. If the enemy myths are standing over water, it'll actually strike the water. A lightning bolt will strike the water and reduce their outgoing damage. So if I hit an enemy Noxus with the lightning because she's standing in the middle of the river or my Riptide, her damage is lowered, and I'm still healing my allies and dealing damage to enemies over time. That's nuts. That's actually insane. Now that in the spotlight, you can see that it's just the lightning bolt raining down, and there's not much else to it. But I heard from UG, they said that there is a storm effect that just didn't load in when they were testing out the abilities, and that's something they do have. It just wasn't working the day of the spotlight. So I'm glad to hear that, because that was my biggest complaint, is it didn't feel like it fit very well. Just random lightning strikes was kind of a weird ability. But if the storm comes in and then the lightning is additional, it makes a little more sense to me. Overall, like I said, you guys can kind of see the combos that can be start to be made here. She places Riptide on all 6 enemy myths, casts the Great Storm. Now they're all their damage is reduced. She activates Mark of the Cerulean on all of them. She's able to use Pearl of the Ocean to shield her allies, Soothing Waters to deal more damage and heal her allies, and then Deep Song to charm people. Like, she could absolutely be insane going into this game. Even though she seems very simple and potentially lackluster, I think her combos really level her up and give her an opportunity to be really, really strong. Her back animation is incredible. I love that she kind of joins Color Guard, right, and tosses up her Hexadent in the air. And there's a moment where you can miss that she throws it, and it just looks like it's disappeared until she catches it at the end, and you're like, oh, hi, yeah, that's a thing. It's incredible. And at the very end, we see her Death Blossom skin, and that skin looks so good. It's ridiculous. I will buy that skin the absolute first moment I can, and I will probably not use the base skin over it, because I just love the color design. I love how it looks. Like, everything about it is just incredible. So great work on this skin team, or for the skin team on that, because absolutely insane. But guys, I think that that's going to do it for me. I appreciate you all for sticking around to this video. Exciting things are happening tomorrow, so definitely be around to watch my video tomorrow. And Windows sound, we're going to close this one out, though. I will see you guys then with a big announcement reveal type thing, like the intro suggested. And if you guys want to see more Ethereal content, click right over here. If you want to see a video just for you, right on the other side, then click the icon above my head, get subscribed, turn on the bell, get all those notifications, however that works, and I will see you guys in the next one.